Welcome back to the Horse Racing Network with me, Izzy Phillips, and I'm joined as always by racing broadcaster and journalist Paul Auster as we take a look ahead to day 4 of Royal Ascot. We've got some really exciting races to look at today, Paul. We've got the Commonwealth Cup and the Coronation Stakes as well. Two really good fields. We're starting off with the Commonwealth Cup and that 6 furlong dash. Very, very exciting. There's a lot of double entries in here is the only thing I will say. Obviously, we're recording this before we have the declaration. So there's a few that you might have heard of already in our day 1, day 2 or day 3 previews. So we won't perhaps dwell on them too much, but obviously there's some that might be more likely to run in these races. In the Commonwealth Cup in particular, we've already spoken about Shadow of Light, who currently tops the market. We've also got Babouche, Jonquil. You mentioned Whistle Jacket earlier as a fancy for one of the other races. You've also got Ides of March here, Arabian Dusk, Big Mojo, forever trying to fill the boots of Big Evs there, I think. Sky Majesty, Arizona Blaze, and then you've also got a couple of Wafnan horses with the likes of Leah Vanny, who was a Royal Ascot winner last year, and Realign. And you've also then got the one that I mentioned earlier in the form of Tropical Storm. Where does your eye go here? Obviously, still quite a lot of runners. It could all still change, but who stands out to you?
Well, the market seems pretty sweet on the Godolphin horse Shadow of Light, which you mentioned earlier, Izzy, as a possibility for one of the other races. But it looks like this is the race he's going to go for. And that 1 length defeat in the Guineas is very, very good form. And it's ended last season, of course, winning a Group 1 over 7 furlongs. But it shouldn't be forgotten that as well as winning the Dewhurst, it also won the Middle Park Stakes over 6 furlongs when it murdered Whistle Jacket by 4 lengths. So this is a horse with a lot of pace. And it stays a mile, as we saw when it was 3rd in the Guineas. Just found 2 good that day. But it's going to be a fairly short price, I think, once the final declarations come through. I think we'll probably be looking about 11 to 8, something like that, Shadow of Light. And that's probably a little bit thin for me. Babouche and Whistle Jacket have formed with each other from the Group 3 race in Ireland a few weeks ago, which, to be fair, Babouche won with a terrific turn of foot. A lovely horse. And amongst the rest, I've got to be honest, I'm not so sure there is the strength and depth in this year's renewal that there have been in previous renewals. And because of that, I think there's a real chance here for Jonquil. If he comes to this race, Andrew Balding's runner, the Judd Monty horse, I think he could go well. You know, he won the Greenham over 7 furlongs really nicely. And then he was only beaten ahead in the French 2,000 guineas by Henri Matisse 6 weeks ago. And the French, when they run their races, you know, they tend to run them at a steadier pace and just a sprint near the end. So it tends to suit horses that maybe wouldn't stay a hard run mile in the English or the Irish guineas. And I just think that this horse is bred to have pace. And I've noticed that there's been quite a lot of money flying around for John Keel in the anti-post markets. And it suggests to me that very possibly Andrew Balding is looking towards this race for this horse and maybe has taken the view that sprinting could be his game, especially on a stiff uphill track over 6 furlongs. That's like 7 furlongs anywhere else. He's never run over a trip as short as this, but he's a keen going sort. So I think he's the one that could give the favourite Shadow of Light most to do. And it's 9 to 1 at the time we're recording this piece for you, over a week ahead of the race itself.
See, I did mention that obviously Shadow of Light, I quite fancied Shadow of Light actually for the Guineas, and I was completely gutted that William Buick actually picked Ruling Court, and I thought, no way, you know, as if I know more than William Buick really, but I thought, no way, he's picked wrong. You know, he was the top 2-year-old Shadow of Light. He was so exciting, and I personally would much prefer to see him run in this than over the St James's Palace Stakes at a mile. I do think he's better at a shorter distance. The way he showed that burst of speed in the Guineas, and I think that could really come to the fore here. Obviously, the market suggests that he's more likely to go in this race, and I would agree with you. I think he's only going to shorten once we get those declarations. And I personally I think I would side with him here. Another runner that I like the look of is Leovanni, only because he was a Royal Ascot winner last year, and I do like, the horses that you got, that horses for courses. They like to win at that same time of year. As the week goes on as well, there might be a couple of showers earlier in the week, and obviously Ascot will probably water, but it's meant to be quite a warm week, so I do think they're likely to get closer to that rattling good to firm ground that they had last year, which is what Leovanni actually won on. So that's another reason for me to kind of lean towards him at a little bit of a bigger price of 25-1 currently, obviously, as opposed to a 7-4 favourite. But I really do fancy Shadow of Light in this. I think that this is perfect, really.
Well, time will tell.
We will see, won't we?
We'll know Friday afternoon.
They've both got entries elsewhere, haven't they? Our selections there, Shadow of Light and John Quill, but both look more likely to turn up here. So we'll have to see whether the market's correct.
Well, I think John Quill is the value each way alternative, but the case that you make for the favourite is a good one. And as you said, that turn of foot that he showed to get to them in the Guineas was really impressive. And if you this time, can just time that burst of speed, he might be too good for them. We'll find out in due course.
We've got coming up next then the Coronation Stakes. Obviously, this is a fillies race, so we've got all the girls here. And actually, there's a couple running here, Paul, that were in our flat to follow. Obviously, we made sure that we included some fillies in there. I've got a horse running in here potentially, so quite a big price with Cathedral, currently one of the biggest price horses in the field. And you've also got, I think you mentioned Elwatine a couple of times on preview. We've also got January in here. One of the biggest horses that just blew everybody away last year. You've got Bedtime Story. Near the top of the market, though, you've actually got a horse called Zarigana. I've got to get that right. I was about to say Zaringa. Zarigana. Exactly follows that for Aidan O'Brien. You've then got Ralph Beckett, always has a good filly. He's got Chantilly Lace here. You've actually got an entry for Desert Flower, but obviously I don't think that's perhaps likely. It didn't quite go to plan, did it, in the Oaks? But a horse here that everybody's speaking about is She's Perfect. For obviously Charlie Fellows, and we had all the drama with the French Oaks as well.
The point here that I can't figure out, maybe I missed something, maybe you can help me here, is the market seems completely wrong because we're looking at this over a week before the start of the meeting. And Zaragana, who was awarded the race in France, controversially, is 6-4 favourite from what I can see. Been back through all odds, whereas the horse that actually was first past the post, She's Perfect, is 16-1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's got to be something going on there. I mean, either they think Charlie Fellows is not going to run her, or she's not going to be ready to run She's Perfect. But from what I understand, the plan was to have another crack at Sarah Garner and set the record straight.
If you follow Basher Watts on Instagram and Twitter, he's quite certain that She's Perfect's definitely going for this.
Okay.
So
how
I don't know.
How is she 16-1 and the other one's 6-4 when she finished ahead? I mean, it's a real puzzle. Maybe the bookies have their own little grapevine. Sometimes they know things that other people don't. But Zaragana is a very, very good French filly. She'd beaten She's Perfect the time before, but only by a neck in a Group 3. So really, if I was making a book, I wouldn't have a great deal between the pair at all.
Not that big of a price.
No, it might be for me that they're two terrific fillies, but I think Aidan O'Brien has a pretty strong hand in this race because he's got Exactly, who was only just over a length behind the pair of them in France and didn't get much of a run. And while January is a horse that I spoke about at the start of the season is one to keep an eye on, and I think it will come forward a great deal for its run in the Irish 1,000 guineas. There's the other potential runner from Ballydoyle, and that is Bedtime Story. And I sat down this afternoon that we've come along to do these previews, and I watched back the French 1,000 guineas a few times, looking at the interference between Zaragana and She's Perfect, also looking at exactly, but the one that really caught my eye was Bedtime Story, because she really didn't get the best of runs at all. It was her first run of the season, and she actually finished, I thought, pretty much, I wouldn't say on the bridle as she was ridden out, but I don't think he picked up the whip once he knew his chance had gone. And I am very optimistic that she will get a lot closer to the two that were involved in the steward's room brawl um, than she did in France. So I think the value here could lie with Bedtime Story, if of course she is declared to run. And I can't see a reason why she shouldn't take a chance, having had 6 weeks to get over the French run. So she'd be my choice. Bedtime Story, good 2-year-old last season as well. Very good.
I think there's a bit of confusion, isn't there, about whether or not they're going to run in the Prix de Diane this weekend. Coming is what seems to be causing the turmoil with this market. I just had a little look, but I'm pretty sure that this is the race that they were thinking of going for. So we'll have to see, won't we?
I think Izzy, they.
I've either got it wrong. It's either she's either definitely running in the Prix de Diane or definitely running in at Royal Ascot. I thought that they found that they liked her for the Ascot race.
Yeah, I think if she goes to Ascot, I think she's got every chance of turning the form around. It might be that they feel, maybe the way she finished off that race in the 1,000 guineas, that they'd like to have a crack at a mile and a quarter at Chantilly. I don't know. But if she goes there to Ascot, Bedtime Story would be my choice.
I think it's a really interesting race. I mean, I do like Bedtime Story. I was completely enamoured with her previous season. She just, like you say, perhaps hasn't had the run, hasn't had the best of luck in running, but hasn't blown me away. Even the tail end of last season, she almost seemed to lose her way a little bit.
She did.
So I'd be absolutely gutted if she won and I didn't back her. But I'm sort of trying to allow myself to move on to pastures new. And I do like the look of this Chantilly lace for Rafe Beckett. She's relatively, obviously, lowly race. Like she barely had any runs. She was 5th, beaten by Desert Flower at Newmarket in that Guineas, and potentially could just sort of come on for that a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good shout because she won her only race last year in a mud bath at Salisbury. But then she showed on fast ground at Newmarket that she's got the class to mix it with some very, very good filling.
She didn't disgrace herself.
Not at all. It was a very good effort, finishing 5th on only your second career start and 1st of the season. So you would expect that she would have come forward. So I can see where you're coming from with Chantilly then.
Yeah, so some exciting races on the Friday. Obviously, we've had the Commonwealth Cup and the Coronation Cup. That means that we've only got day 5, the Saturday, left to go. And please do join us for that preview next.